everyone, welcome back. So we have talked about big picture stuff in all my other videos, but today we're getting into the nitty gritty of day one. So day ones are always super scary, but when you add in being virtual and COVID and everything else that is totally unknown right now, it is exponentially more scary. I think the scariest part is I don't know these students, and so it really worries me that I'm going to miss out on that relationship building of day one. And a big thing about day one for me is to make sure that students know right off the bat that my classroom is going to be hands-on. So I know a lot of other classes, they probably sat in their seats and listened to teacher tell them about the syllabus and expectations and what to do in class and what they can expect and all these things that are really important to get across. However, it is exhausting after all summer to come to school and be forced to sit and listen all day long. I know that because that's how I feel when I come back as a teacher and I'm in all my PD and I don't want to listen anymore. I just want to talk to my friends who I didn't see over the summer. And so I know that's how the students are feeling, and I try to relate to that as I do this. So a lot of people ask about if they should do a PowerPoint for day one, and my answer is yes, only because it has been a whole summer and I know I will forget things, and so I definitely do a PowerPoint. But the PowerPoint is not just straight information, it's activities to remind myself to explain to the students of what to do. So turning that into virtual is turning the rotations that I generally do in class into activities that they'll see on each slide as they progress through here. So this is the template that is on Teachers Pay Teachers in its entirety. However, here I just shortened it down to really just the things that are interactive to explain and to kind of give some ideas. And again, that's all this is ideas. You can definitely make it your own. You should make it your own if you have other things that you want to plug in here, but hopefully this is a way to organize all of that stuff so that day one can be as smooth as possible, and hopefully this will save you some time. So it's a PowerPoint, so you would start with welcome to, in my case, maybe biology, and your name, and maybe something else here, picture or something, and then get right into a big overview so students can see what they would be expected to do. So if this were me, I would have this whole slide up, and so far I would have done everything on Zoom with them. So I'd be sharing my screen, I would be walking them through all these rotations and explaining the expectations of not each slide in detail or anything, but a general overview of each slide so they have an idea of what to do. And so slide one would be to meet your teacher, so I would go ahead and do that myself in Zoom, and so I would give them all the things that I expect them to tell me. So in Introduce Yourself, I have a survey that students fill out that has all of the extracurriculars they're in, what pets do they have, what's their favorite TV show or something they're binging currently, things like that. And then I also have what is your definition of a great teacher? Not an easy one, but a great one. And what's your expectation of this class? And so I get some interesting answers to those, and I really love those two questions. And so feel free to steal those if you want. But the survey is great. However, digitally, I have also added into my template to do a Flipgrid because I want to hear the students' voices. I want them to interact with me, even though it's one-sided and I cannot take the time to sit and talk to each one of these students. At least doing a Flipgrid where they're answering the survey orally in a video that only I see hopefully gives me a little better insight into who they are as people, and maybe makes it a little easier for them to talk to me, or for me to talk to them at least, in tutorials or later down the road. So just an idea, not that you have to do it that way, especially if you don't have time. But that would be the introductions. And then the other piece of the Meet the Teacher that I would do with them, to just jump back a second, would be helpful hints. So really that's your expectations. So how should they handle cell phones and all your other policy type things? But also, how can you be successful in this class? And I think I connect so well with students in talking about how can they be successful on that first day, because it shows them I want them to be successful. And so I have a lot of students that actually come to me and say that that was really helpful and that they really liked that I included that. And so just to give an example, things like You should make sure that you have your work done on time, even though it won't be late, because learning checks will be timed and you won't be able to find things quick enough if they're not done already. Again, just an example, a ton of different helpful hints you can give about how to take notes and other things, but definitely something that students appreciate, as I have found. Okay, so that's logistical things, but the Meet the Teacher is the only piece that really you would do in Zoom altogether. Then I would probably turn off Zoom and have the students go and do the survey and the introduce yourself piece, however you do that, and all of the rest of really 2 through 7 they would be doing on their own before check-in time. So set some kind of timer. I would say maybe 40-45 minutes if you have block scheduling. If not, then less than that. Cut things out, but they're doing this on their own. And then coming back into Zoom or Google Meet here where it says check-in time. So the next thing would be create a personalized logo stamp, which is what this slide explains. Basically, the logo stamp is in replacement of the name tent that I generally have them make. So they would come in and be working on their name tent while class is getting started that first day. And so it's something for them to be doing with their hands. And I also like them to put some kind of personal emblem on there. So they are kind of making a logo of, like, if they play soccer, they put soccer balls, or if they love their pets and they put little dogs or hearts, or however they want to decorate their name tag and make it personal. So this just takes that name tag piece that I don't get to do and makes it digital. So Design Evo is a logo maker that I've used before that's super easy. They don't have to sign up for anything. They can just go in, customize whatever logo template that they want. They can change all kinds of things about it. There's soccer things, if they like to cook, if they like video games. They can also put different pictures in there if they wanted, but their company name on these templates would turn into their name first and last, and then the slogan can be their a quote that they like, or just something that, even just their period number if they really can't come up with anything, maybe a team name or something clever. Anyway, it's up to them to personalize. The important thing that I make sure I reiterate to them when I explain it is just keep it appropriate. Appropriate. They really need that hammered home, especially in 9th grade. Okay, and then the next three things here are signing up for Google Classroom. So you'd have a slide that has Google Classroom sign up stuff. You would have a Remind sign up stuff, which just a real quick note about Remind, if you don't use it, I just like it because it texts students and without the number exchange piece. And I know students are supposed to be checking their emails, but email is definitely outdated for them. And so I find that they don't check their emails as often as they should. And so Remind is really helpful for those students. And then reading and signing a syllabus. If you just copy and paste an image of the syllabus or a link to the syllabus on a slide, and then give them some kind of form to sign to say that they read it and agree to it, again, I go through more specifics on all of this stuff on the full version, but these are really just logistical things you can probably figure out. And then the Find Someone Who is another idea for an interactive piece of how students can meet each other. And so 3 things that they have in common with somebody based on this list. So I give them a list of about 10 things, and they would comment on Google Classroom which things apply to them. So if they say A, C, E, G, H apply to them, then they would find someone that have 3 things that are in common with them. Really just the first person that they find that have those 3 things. And they would be partners or a group, depending on how many people you want to work together, and they can form their own little Zoom or Google Hangout to meet and talk about the things they have in common and learn something about each other. So for example, if they had B in common, where did they go over the summer? And so they would all learn that about each other in that little group. And then when we came back together, which would be the next thing directly after that, they would share something about what they learned from the people in their group or their partner. And so they would rejoin that video conference, and you would do that first and then go back and make sure that everyone got everything done here. The other thing I really like about posting their answers in Google Classroom or on Canvas or whatever is that you're kind of finding a checkpoint here of where students are and figuring out if they're done or not. So if you need to add extra time is great. And then this being number 3, I also have them put this in Google Classroom when they're done, and so they would post their stamp for everyone to see, and another just check-in for while I'm waiting for them to sign back into a Zoom. Checking on student progress, I think would be important, especially on day 1, to see if you have those students who are actually doing the work they're supposed to do when you turn off the video camera. But, so you've checked in with them, and then the next thing would be to explain whatever comes next that day for you. If that's all the time you have, then you're done, obviously, and you sign off until next time. But if you have block scheduling and you usually do more than that, then you would explain the next learning activity and you would release them to do that after that check-in. But obviously that's up to each content area and teacher and however much time you have, but that's where you would put that, and then give them some kind of homework or takeaways for the day. I like using takeaways, especially when it's things that aren't really homework. They're just things that need to get done. Like, for instance, if they didn't finish all the things today, they really need to make sure they sign up for all that remind and read the syllabus and get their parents to sign, things like that. And also get organized. It's not really an official homework thing, but it's going to be important for virtual learning, so I would make sure that your students have some ways that you've given them to be successful, that they should organize their stuff so they can access it for whatever work you're doing in class. So that would pretty much wrap up day 1, and hopefully it's not overwhelming, and hopefully you realize that even in here I put another option if they could create a Bitmoji instead of doing a logo stamp. So I realized that there are so many activities out there, that the internet is just full of all these ideas, but trying to condense it to make it personalized and engaging, but making sure that the activities that you choose are going to help you get to know your students, help them get to know you, and help them get to know each other, because that is the piece that's missing from virtual, and I think that's the most important part of day 1, not all of the nitty-gritty syllabus stuff that I think we get kind of caught up in, especially when they're there in person. Relationship building is going to be key, in my opinion, to this whole virtual thing working, and getting to know these kids from the start would be my priority number 1. So to wrap up, I know you have so many options out there of things to do, and I'm not saying that the ones that I have here are the end all be all. It's another option yet again, but hopefully this gives you a way to put it together. Even if you did want to put your own in here, it's set up for you to do that. And so if you want the full version of this template, it is available on my Teachers Pay Teachers website, and I will make sure I put that link in the description below. I know that is overwhelming right now, and I hope that this helped a little bit somehow. If you need anything, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to put a question or a comment below, and I hope everyone has a great, fantastic, smooth first day. Good luck to everyone.